Hello, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Microsoft Club of University of Calania, I welcome all of you to the third session of the Dev Express webinar series. Today session is going to be about introduction to mobile application development using Xamarin. And this interesting session will be conducted by Mr. Dileepa Rajapaksa. He is a most valuable professional in Microsoft and also a Microsoft certified Azure Solutions Architect expert. And he is currently working as a cloud solution architect at Ripe. Guys, if you have any questions, please use the chat window in the right side. Hope you will fully utilize this session as a tech enthusiast. And I'll be handing this session to our presenter. Over to you, Mr. Dileepa.
All right. Thank you, Nipuna, for the introduction. Let me start my session by starting my screen. So, all right. Okay, just let me know if you can see my screen, right? So then I can start the session. All right, you can see?
Yes,
all
yes, we
right.
can.
All right, guys. Good evening and good afternoon for everyone who are joining today. So welcome to today's session. Today we're gonna discuss about a very interesting topic. So it is the introduction to Xamarin and how you can create native iOS and Android apps using .NET. So that is our session today. So just give you a small introduction about me. So I'm Dileepa Rajapaksa. I'm actually a cloud solution architect, and I have been working in the Microsoft stack since 2010. So I have huge experience in Microsoft technologies, and I have been working at Microsoft as an intern for about 2 years. And then I learned a lot of about Xamarin and did a lot of developments and applications using Xamarin. So other than that, you can go to my LinkedIn. So I hope everyone is using LinkedIn nowadays. So probably just go to LinkedIn and search my name. So I'm gonna, you can actually follow me. And then if you have any questions, during, any time of your life, right? So you can ask me. So any technical queries. And as Nipun said, I'm Microsoft MVP and I'm Microsoft certified trainer and solution architect expert. So, yep. So this is my LinkedIn. I think everyone is in LinkedIn. Just go and give a heads up and follow me, and then I'll help you with anything, right? So just search for Dileepa Rajapaksa, then you can do it, right? So at the end of the session, I'll check how many of you have sent request and followed me, right? So just do it right now because we can communicate to each other. So if you have any doubts. Okay, so to join the discussion, I have a couple of things that I have pasted here. So you can join our discussion using InQuest, right? So you can go to this link from mobile, or maybe you can scan this QR code quickly from your mobile, and then you can ask questions, and there's a poll right over there. So I'm asking some questions, and then you can vote for the poll, and you can ask any questions from inquest.io. You can go to this QR code here, right here, scanning by mobile, or maybe you can use your mobile to scan it and join using mobile, and then you can ask questions and everything. And also you can go to inquest.io and use the event code as Xamarin, or maybe you can go to this link here. So then you can join the discussion today. I'll share this link in the chat window as well. If you want, you can use mobile because you can interactively join the session because you can ask questions. And this question is, this platform is totally anonymous. If you have any doubts or questions, you can ask them without any worry, right? So I know that as students, you are worry about your identity, so you may shy in order to ask questions. You may think my question is little, it's not a real good question. Likewise, right? So you can ask any questions that you have during the session in the platform. So I'll be monitoring that throughout the session. And yeah, just go to head on to the inquest.io and use the Xamarin as a code, or maybe you can scan this QR code from your mobile. Then it is easier for you. So at the same time, let me paste this link to your chat window. Then you can join from your laptop as well. So it is totally anonymous, as I said, right? So you can ask questions, not like in Teams chat, right? So you can ask any question, then you don't worry about showing your identity. All right. So before we get started, let me ask a question from you: how we develop apps now? How many of you are actually developing apps nowadays? So I know a lot of people are developing Android apps, iOS apps, Windows apps, right? So join this session, join the interactive session. So I'm gonna monitor and check. There's a poll here, right? Just go to this site. I'm going to quickly take a look at how many of you are using Android devices, how many of you are using Windows devices. Use Xamarin as the code and go to the polls, and there's a poll here, mobile device, right? Go to answer and click your answer here. So let's see how many of you are using Windows devices, how many of you are using Android devices, right? So quickly give you 5 minutes, just go and heads up, right, to get an idea. All right, we have one choice, right? Android. Yep. That's the other guys. I think we have 41 people here, right? Okay, I have already pasted. Okay, I think another, another guy has voted about 100%. It is Android. Let's see who is using iOS and who is using Windows. Okay. 3 replies. Okay, let me also give heads up because it is iOS I'm using, right? I think I have already answered earlier. Okay, let's see how many of you are using Android, iOS. I think everybody is using Android, I think. Okay, couple of minutes. Okay, we have one iOS guy. Okay, we'll wait for a while, some others to join. I think there are about 41, 45 people joining the session. Just go and, share your platform just to make it interactive, right? So as I said, this session should be interactive with you guys and, we can talk to each other. Okay. Any other platforms? Okay, 9 people. Okay, let's wait for a couple of more. Okay, we have one more, right? All right, what happened to the other rest of the guys? Okay, anyway, just taking a lot of time, right? I just got an idea about, what kind of devices that you are using. So yeah, there's another response. Yeah, go ahead with this flow, right? At the end of the session, we'll see how many of you are using Windows devices, how many of you are using Android and iOS devices. And also go to the other poll, right? There's another poll to ask you about which programming language it is. Just go ahead and, answer the questions, right? So later on, we can see your other responses as well. All right, so make it interactive, ask questions, right? You can ask any questions here. Just head on to the live, excuse me, live interaction and then ask your questions. You can ask anonymously, because of that, you don't need to worry about your identity. So just ask any question. It is not going to be a stupid question, right? All right, let's jump back to our session and get along, right? Okay, as I said, you have multiple number of devices, iOS and Android. So the old way of doing, mobile application or making an, mobile application is way called silo approach, right? So silo approach is something like what you do right now, probably, right? Some of them are not using the silo approach at the moment, right? So silo approach is like this. So let's say that you are an iOS developer, you are using iOS platform, right? And then what you are doing, you are using Objective-C or maybe Swift, right, as a programming language, and you are using Xcode as your, the IDE. Okay, you know what is IDE, right? So I hope you know IDE, Integrated Developer Environment, right? So guys, there's a background noise coming in. Someone has unmuted. Let me check. Yeah, the background noise coming. Right. I think okay. Good. Thanks. Keep your mic silence, right? Just to make sure we have good experience throughout the session. All right. So I was talking about iOS and iOS, Android, and Windows, right? So when you are developing iOS, you have to use Objective-C, Swift as a programming language, and probably you will use Xcode as underlying in IDE, right? So IDE means Integrated Development Environment. And if you are developing Android applications, you will use Java, Kotlin, right? Or whatever the language like Java or Kotlin with Android Studio, right? And if you are developing Windows Phone apps or maybe Windows apps, right? So you will use C Sharp and Visual Studio. So this is what we do right now, right? So this is the usual way we do. Even nowadays, some of the companies are using the same approach. We will have one guy for each and every platform. One person who is developing iOS, one person developing Android, another person developing for Windows, right? So altogether, three guys are developing applications, and all of them are actually using different languages as well as different tools, right? So tools means integrated development environment, right? So in that particular case, you can see there's a huge problem because you are repeatedly doing the same kind of things, right? So whatever the models, whatever the data, data layers and all those things using for iOS, you are using for Android as well as Windows, right? So everything is repeated, right? You can see even though we use object-oriented programming, since we have language barrier because we are using different languages, we have to repeat the same task again and again in each and every platform. So that is what you call as no shared code. So many languages and development environment and multiple teams, right? So it is really big hassle, right? If you are developing an application, it takes a lot of time, because you have a lot of people to manage. It takes a lot of money because you have to buy licensing for each and every development environment. And as I said, it is not really productive. Excuse, because you don't have shared code and you are repeatedly doing the same thing for each and every platform, right? So nowadays we have multiple other ways of developing application for all these three. One is called Apache Cordova, there's other one called Ionic, and there's another one called React Native, Vue.js. you know you have lots of things that we have available nowadays. So React Native is little bit uh, little bit excuse, little bit of popular nowadays because it is using JavaScript framework, what you call as React Native, right? And now what we have C Sharp here. So today we're gonna learn about C Sharp, right? If you know C Sharp, so if you have learned one language called C Sharp, you can develop for iOS, Android, as well as Windows, right? So you have shared code base, 100% native API access and high performance. So remember that in mobile application development, we have native development as well as hybrid development, right? So when it's come to native development, it is really good because hybrid development is not really good when it's come to accessing some of the libraries and accessing some of the features and capabilities. So remember that Xamarin is using native API access, and entire applications that you develop is not hybrid. It is native iOS, native Android, native Windows. But the most important part is 100% or maybe 98% or 99% of the code is shared between all these layers. So probably you may have to use C Sharp UI for Android, C Sharp UI for iOS, C Sharp UI for Windows. So that is another way you have to do, if you want to develop separately for each and every one. So then you can use separate UIs for each. And I'm gonna discuss about another way we can share the UI as well. In this diagram, you can only see the code or the logic is shared, which is actually repeated, right, in the previous step. In these steps, you have to repeat all the codes. Here, you are not going to repeat the same code again and again. And yeah, obviously, you can get high performance with the Xamarin unique approach. And not only that, that you can develop application for Xamarin using, for the iOS and Android and Windows. You can even target for iPad, Apple TV, even iWatch, right? And then Apple Watch and then Android, where, there are a lot of other devices available, you already know. So all these wearable devices, Apple TVs, MacBook, and then, whatnot, other devices like iPad, all these are available. So you don't need to worry. You just use C# and develop for every kind of platforms available and every kind of devices available in these categories, right? So one of the things that you have remember, whatever you do, right, in Objective C, Swift, and Java or Kotlin, you can be done in C# using Xamarin as well. Okay, so Nipuna, you are asking me to control. Is that so? I'm gonna deny
No, no,
it, right?
that's a mistake.
All right, sure. Okay, so I'm gonna deny it, and so as I said, whatever you do with Objective C for iOS, and then Java and Kotlin, you can do everything in C#, right? With Xamarin. So don't need to worry about anything, you can't do this and this and so on. So this is totally myth. You can do everything in C#, whatever you do in C#, Swift, Objective C, Swift, or maybe Java or Kotlin, right? So if you know C#, that is enough. Just learn C# today. It is really good language. You can learn a lot, and it is available for everyone for free to learn. And one of the things that you have to remember when it's come to Xamarin, we are using something called mono runtime. I think probably you may have heard about mono runtime, right? So mono is a kind of a framework, right? If you are a Linux guy, probably you might heard about mono framework, because in Linux, in order to run .NET applications, you can use mono, right? So that's how usually mono is actually there, right? Just search for mono and it is available as a distribution for you to use in Linux, right? You can run and develop for Linux machines using .NET, right? And then you can use them in any Linux platform, right? And covering with .NET Core, .NET Core and .NET 5, right? So you already know what is .NET Core, probably, right? If you don't know, let me know in our discussion, right? So I'll go through that as well. So .NET Core is the variant of Linux, Windows, everywhere that you can run. That is another framework, just like .NET framework, right? And Mono is obviously a really great platform. We are using Mono a lot in Xamarin.NET runtime, right? So I'm gonna show you later on. And one of the things that you have to learn about, right, when you are developing applications using Xamarin is open source, right? So if you go to GitHub and search for Xamarin, right? Xamarin repository, right? Entire repository is there. Even you can contribute as a contributor, right? So you don't need to worry about anything. You just contribute. So just like that, Xamarin is developing very quickly and fastly, just because it is open source. And obviously you can use Xamarin for your Windows machine, right? Today I have a MacBook, right? I'm using a Apple device, but if you are using a Windows machine, you can use Xamarin to develop application for iOS and Android, and Visual Studio for Mac. So today I'm going to show you and demonstrate how you can use Visual Studio for Mac, right? So which is available here. And I think probably you might have MacBook or maybe Windows. I know everybody has Windows machines. There's a small issue that you have to encounter, right? Because, if you are developing iOS applications using Windows machine using Visual Studio, so using Xamarin, you obviously need to have a MacBook in order to build your application only for iOS, right? Because when you are building application in Windows, it is not supported. In order to build a particular iOS application, you have to use obviously a MacBook, right? You can use a someone else MacBook as well as a remote machine, right? Or maybe there are online Mac Mac operating systems available if you want to build, right? But that is one of the disadvantage because Apple is not giving any access to their APIs and everything when it's come to building applications, right? So other than that, you can develop directly, right? If you don't have a Mac, so you can create applications using C Sharp, using Xamarin for Android perfectly, right? But in order to build, you have to have a Mac, right? When you are doing it in Windows. Obviously in MacBook, you can do for both. You don't need to worry about anything. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a demo quickly. You can ask any questions that you have during the session, right? I'm gonna quickly jump over to my Visual Studio. I'm gonna go here and open my Visual Studio. So first of all, I'm gonna show you how to develop, Xamarin iOS and Xamarin Android separately, right? So I'm not gonna share UI code. I'm just, creating separate application for each. So in this way, I can show you how you can create a specific application. I'm gonna create a new project. And you can see there are a couple of options available: multi-platform, iOS, Android, right? So if I go with multi-platform, I'll be doing that, demo later. You can target for both, Android and iOS. But currently for the first demo, I'm going to use Android app, single Android app, right? Sorry. And I'm going to create a blank Android app and click next. And also don't I forgot to mention here, you can see that you can create application for Wear apps, Android Wear apps. And even if you go for here, I'm not sure, it is not showing here anyway. So you can see tvOS apps, right? You can create Apple tvOS apps, Mac apps if you want to create Mac applications. And there should be Apple Watch, right? I'm not sure why it is not showing here. Anyway, I'm gonna go and create an Android app here. Click next. Let's say and demo Android app, right? Demo Android app, right? So you can use organization identifier. So if you have already developed Android apps using Java for your projects, you probably know what it is, right? Organization filter. So organization identifier, you can use any organization, domain name here, right? We'll keep it .com company name for the moment. If you want, you can use whatever the packaging name. And targeted platform, you can see maximum compatibility, minimum, you can see gingerbread, modern development, latest and greatest, right? I'm going to go with maximum. This is the API versions comes into play, right? And themes, you can either use one of these themes. I'm going to go with default one for the easy. And the project name, solution name, and then location, you will be saving it. And if you want to put this to a GitHub, you can add GitHub version control. I'm not going to do that at the moment. And there's something called App Center, right? So I'll show you later if we have some time, right? So App Center is where you can test your UIs and everything, right? So it is available for you to try out, but it is not free service. All right, now I'm gonna click create. All right, let's keep it for a while. Okay, my project is creating now. Okay. So whatever I do here is similar to Windows, right? Don't worry, everything is similar to Windows. So at the end of the session, probably I'll show you how to install Xamarin, right? It is very straightforward. Okay, so now you can see, so if you are familiar with Android development, probably you might remember something called activity class, right? So main activity is where your first activity is running. Okay. And they are creating, by default view for me and a kind of a button there, right? I'll go inside you know the property, sorry, resources, right? Inside the resources, I have layouts, I have the activity.main, right? So this is how the architecture or maybe your project structure looks like, right? So I'm not quite sure this is visible. I don't have a way to zoom in a lot, right? So in the project, in the solution, right, in Visual Studio solution, you have the Android app here. Inside the Android app project, you have getting started. You don't need to worry about that. Connected services, right? So if you have any other connected services, and there's one more important thing, references, right? If you go to references, you will see mono.android here, right? So right here, you can see mono.android. And then we have system.core, system.numerics, system.numerics.vectors, likewise, couple of, references. So you remember that I discussed a little bit about Mono. It is Linux variant for Windows, .NET framework, right? And then you have a couple of packages, Xamarin Android supports, and then Xamarin Android support design, likewise. And now I have opened activity main class. You can see it as a hello world application, right? So first of all, we'll run this in my emulator. I'm going to click here. And I have already selected my emulator. We'll see what is happening, right? Just building the application. Okay, let me check my emulator. So I have all the emulators here running, right? This is my Android emulator. So usually it will take a couple of minutes, to build the application. And then I'll go through each and every part, right? Okay, this is going to be the starter template, right? So when you created a blank Android app, very quick, you can see my emulator is running. And yep, awesome. Here we go. You can see hello world application is running. Even these buttons are working. You can see you can add whatever the actions, right? So basically, this is a basic, view that you are getting. What I'm going to do now, I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna first of all show you main activity class here. So I have the main activity class. Inside the main activity class, you remember if you are doing Java, right, using Android, probably you have to write some code here in order to, do something, right? Now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna go to my resources and back again for my layout activity main. And inside the activity main, you can see I have Android XML here, right? So if you are using Android XML, so obviously, you probably use Android XML, right? So you can see the designer view and then source, right? And also you can see the C# here, C# code. This is entirely C#. You can see main activity.cs. This is the main activity. And for the main activity, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here to the source and split it, right? I'm going to delete couple of things from here. So keep in the, I'm going to first delete and remove hello world part, right? I'm going to delete, right, that. And then I'm going to delete this one as well, right? I don't need them. And I'm going to have a kind of a, let's say, layout with, let's say, linear layout, horizontal or vertical. Let's go with vertical, right? So I'm gonna grab this one and put that here. So I have just put a vertical layout, right? You can see I'm gonna make it a little lower here, probably to become. Okay, anyway. So now I'm gonna add a button. I'm gonna drag and drop a button here, right? You can see the button added. Okay, anyway, so it's not coming down. Let me check in my layout. I have any margins. Okay, let me drag and drop back, and you can see the Android XML showing you the UI exactly, right? I'm gonna add another part, again layout, linear layout. Okay, not quite sure why it is showing here. I think there's something here, right? I just deleted it. Again, linear layout. You can see that in this variant, right, when you are doing developing apps for Android separately, you can drag and drop controllers, right? Because it is not shared UI. And what I am going to do, I have linear layout here. For the linear layout, I'm going to add button. Yes, button. Okay, yes, button. Okay, here we go. I'll drag and drop a button. And in the button, you can go here to the text, right? In the properties, let's say click me, right? And what I'm going to do when I click this one, I'm gonna have hello world part here. I'm gonna go to, let's say we'll add a text large, right? I'm gonna drag and drop here. Yes, text large, and I have these names, right? Text view. This is my ID. Let's say this is text view hello, right? It's my name ID, right? You can see the ID text view hello, and then I have the button one, right? And for the large one, let me check if there's anything that I can do, any changes to the properties. You go here to this one. Let's make it a little bold if you want, right? Okay, bold. And then, okay, I think if you want to put something, yeah, I think that's enough, right? All right, we'll keep it like this. Now what I'm going to do, I have already created my UI, right? I have the button and the text, and the text box, you can see it is tex view hello, right? And I'm gonna go to my main view. Now you can see that previous parts I deleted. It's an error, right? I'm gonna use button here. So probably if you have if you are familiar with Android with Java, you probably know this one, right? I'm gonna create a button and find view by ID button, and this is everything C#, right? Not Android, Java, right? So I'm gonna use the button ID here. Okay, where's my button ID? Okay, so I'm gonna use button ID r dot, oops, r dot. I should try find view by ID r resources dot check why it is not showing. Okay, probably here resources dot ID. Why it is not showing ID? Okay, resources. I think it's capital ID dot. I think it's resource. That's why resource dot ID. ID, yeah. And then I'm gonna get the button here. You can see button one, right? And let me create another variable for the text, right? I have text view. Text view. Let's say for this one, I'll give it a name called text view. Find view by ID and text view, right? So resources, sorry, resource dot ID dot what's my text view name? tex view hello, right? You can see very quickly, you can get it. And remember, this is very similar to Android, right? If you have done Android development using Java, probably you might remember how this works, right? But here entire code is in C#. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to generate button click event for the button. So I'm going to go button click event, right? Click plus equal delegate, right? So what I'm going to do in the delegate event, in the button click event, I'm going to say change the text of the text view. Text view dot text is equal to hello world, right? Okay, everything in C#. Now you can see I'm going to save it, and let's quickly run this in the emulator. So this is main activity. You can have multiple activities depending on your solution, right? So if you don't know Android, this is really hard, right? So because this entire project is similar to Android, right? Okay, this background is coming back again. All right, thank you. Okay, let's keep for a while. It is deploying to my emulator now. All right, come on, come on. All right, boom. So I have my button here. So forget about, I have a couple of small, UI issues here. You can see it's gone a little bit up, right? So I'm going to click this one. You can see hello world, boom, right? So very quickly you can create an application, right? So this is a kind of example, to give you an idea how it works, right? So now very quickly you can see that this is only for Android. This application is entirely Android. I'm gonna quickly quit this one and show you for Windows as iOS as well, right? I'm gonna create another project. Let's create a new project with iOS variant. I'm gonna create new one, and I'm gonna use only iOS, right? So this is, if you don't need to share anything, right? If you want to keep it separately, right? I'm gonna create single view app and click here, demo iOS app, right? And I don't need iPad. I'm just focusing on only iPhone, right? You can select the target OS, click next, and you can use all the information here if you want, right? Click create. Very quickly, we'll create another app. And one of the things that you need to remember when you are using this approach, right? Separate project approach, you can use their designer, right? Android designer as well as, Apple designer, right? So now what I'm going to do in here, I have a small app they have created, right? I'll go to the storyboard. If you have ever done iOS development, you probably know this one. So we have something called storyboard where we are developing the application, right? So let's wait for a while until it is loading. Okay, come on. Okay, you can see all the controllers have been loaded. All right, I'm gonna use skip Visual Studio only, right? So you can see I have view controller, which is my main view controller, right? Let's check my main.cs. Sorry, view controller.cs, right? You can see the view controller as the same name as here. I'm gonna go to view controller.cs. This is where my backend happens, right? If I go to view controller design.cs, you have designer. So since I have only one, I'll be dropping couple of buttons, right? I'm gonna add a button here, right? Quickly add a button. Let's zoom in a little bit, and let me add a label. Quick one, right? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to double click on the button, right? So if you have done C# development, you remember when you are developing apps, Windows applications, you double click this, then it will go to the button click event, right? This is the button click event. So I'm going to go back to my storyboard. For the label, I don't have a name. I'm going to have a name called LBL. Let's say my label, my LABL, right? For that one, right? This is the variable name. I'm going to go back to my view controller CS, double click. You can go to your event. In this event, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go my label.txt. You can see it is POC#. Hello world, right? Very quickly, you can do it. I'm going to now run this one, right, quickly. So I have iOS emulator running here. Let's see how it is going. Okay, come on. All right, build succeeded. Let's see, it is running now. Okay, now you can see it's run, right? So it is running now. So you have the button and label. I'm going to click this button. You can see hello world, change, but there's a alignment problem, right? So forget about that at the moment, right? You have to add some, alignments like this, right? Probably making it a little big, right? Okay, let's run once again and check. So now you can see that my entire code is written using, C#. and the designer is actually iOS, right? Very quickly you can do it. Say for an example, if you want to add other controllers like a sidebar, right? You can do it. Switcher, right? Everything is available, right? So all the native components are available. And you have all the layouts and everything, right? You can see switch and sidebars, everything is available, right? So very quickly you can, create an application. And so for this one, we have only one view controller. And then for this view controller, we have this, view controller CS backend, right? So the code behind where we are going to write our logic, right? So now you can see we have, separate logic for each and everyone. If you want to share this one, couple of codes, you can add a shared library, right? So if you go here to the solution, let's say that you want to add new project. So in Shisha, we have something called libraries, right? Where we have class library, where we can share a library, right? So I'm gonna add a shared library. Let's say a student lib, right? And create it, right? So there's a class, it automatically create. I'm gonna say it as a student class. You can have properties, right? Let's say string name, right? So now it is a shared library where you can create and share entire code inside your same one, right? So if I go here to this one, right, you can see I have student.lib project and the iOS project. And if you want to add Android project, you can create a new project. Once again, add new project and another Android app, right? Just like the previous one, right? So you create the Android app, right? And what you can do now, so you have the main activity and everything. What you can do in the shared library, right? You may have multiple classes, right? You can add multiple classes. If you want, you can add some other classes. Let's say you want to add a new class file, right? Let's say you want to add person class, person empty class, right? Add that, right? And property. So let's say integer id, right? And for this one, let's have another property. Okay, whatever. Think, okay. We have one more brackets. Whatever. Public person. Oh, all right. I think we don't need this one, right? Class public. I have properties. String name, right? So I have two properties here. Oh, where are my end of line expected? Probably I am missing. Okay, now I had one more brackets, right? So I have person class as well as a student class. I'm going to save it. And what I can do, I can refer this class in iOS one as well as Android one. So you can go here to reference and add a reference to projects, right? You can see student library. You click that, you will get a student library reference to this one. I think we should add here. Okay. All right, let's check whether we can create a object, create an object, right? Let me call new student, right? Let's check why it is showing some error. Okay, something wrong. Using what's the name of the project? Demo iOS app. Demo iOS app. Student library. Okay. Wrong. But it's not showing. Check here once again. Reference, add reference, project reference, selected reference. Okay, packages. It doesn't. Let's show it. Okay, double click. It's not showing something. System.co. Okay. Anyway, something wrong. It's not showing. So basically, get an idea. You can create a shared library like this, and then you have two projects, right? Android and iOS, and you can share the logic code in this shared library, and you can use them in the Android and iOS project, right? So usually, you go here and add a reference, right? So I'm not sure why it is not showing at the moment. It's not coming to here. Anyways, just remember, get an idea how it works. So basically, how it is going to work. Probably something wrong. Check dependencies, frameworks. Right. Okay. Anyway, it's wasting time. So now you can see that you can create multiple apps for Android and iOS, using C#, right? So with C# UI. So this way you can't actually share the UI. You can see you develop the UI for Android as well as iOS using drag and drop controllers, and you may probably have the shared logic inside the shared library. So in this way, you can create nice user interfaces because you have drag and drop controllers, right? Because you can put everything, progress view, you can see everything, right? Likewise, even activity indicator. So all these are available for you to use, drag and drop, and even for Android, right? It's same. So in Android also you can add Android controllers, right, for your layout. If you go to activity, so for the activity class, you can drag and drop all these controllers, right? So if you want something like a switch, you can add that as well, right? So likewise, you can put all those things, right? Okay, nothing. All right. Okay, we'll go back to the slide back again, right? So this is one approach that you can use. I'm gonna quit this one. Okay, so great. It's great. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's the demo for that one. So we have a couple of more demos, right? Now, as I said, if you want to share your UI, right? So there's another couple of methods that you can do. So in that way, you can see we have Xamarin, the one that I learned, showed you right now. So we have C# UI for each, right? And the Xamarin Forms is where you are coming to play with C# shared logic as well as shared UI, right? So what you can do, you can create one UI for both iOS, Android, and Windows, right? In my case today demonstration, I'm not going to show you Windows, right? Because nowadays, we don't use Windows mobile devices, right? It's really rare. So now you can see in the previous demo, I discussed this one, shared logic, and then shared UI, shared, iOS UI and Android UI and Windows UI separately. This is a traditional Xamarin approach. Now, if you want to reduce a little bit more work, you can go with Xamarin Forms, right? Xamarin Forms where you will share everything. So you share the code, logic, and share all the Xamarin Forms, right, with the UI, right? So that way you create a native application with everything, right? Okay. So this is kind of an example. You can use C# for entire UI. You can see iOS, Android, Windows, right? So you can see they are taking their own, differences, right? Even though you have created indifferently, right? So either you can use C# or maybe something called SAML, right? I'm going to show you what is SAML. extensible application markup language, right? Search for XAML, XAML, right? So I'm gonna today use XAML in order to write your UI, right? So let's go back to my Visual Studio once again. I'm gonna go to Visual Studio. Quickly jump out of Visual Studio. So again, I'm gonna just remind you, just create, ask your questions if you have, right, in the platform. You can see there's one more selection called multi-platform. I'm gonna use multi-platform. So I'm gonna use multi-platform app. I'm gonna start from blank forms app, right? You can see this Xamarin Forms. Previously, we used iOS and Android separately. This is multi-platform. This is for both Android and iOS. So I'm going to use blank Forms app. Click next. Forms demo, right? I'm going to say you can see targeted platforms, Android and iOS. I'm going to click next. Click create. Right. It's loading. All right. So this is Xamarin Forms, as I say. So Xamarin Forms are the most popular one in Xamarin variant because you can share UI, right? Okay, I don't need this one. You can see that I have 3 projects. Forms demo, this is shared library. Forms Android, Forms iOS. If you have platform specific codes right in Android and iOS, let's say that excuse me, some of these libraries are not supported iOS, some of them are not supported Android, right? Probably you might use to use platform specific code if you want, right? Today I'm not going to use Android and iOS platform specific code. I'm going to jump over to this forms demo and then main page.xaml. You can see this is my main page, right? So this is main page.xaml. You can see it is extensible application markup language. Just search for XAML. So this one has a view. If I go to preview, it will show you Android and iOS preview at the same time. And one of the biggest disadvantage here, you can't drag and drop controllers here. But I'll show you what you can do. You can see welcome to Xamarin Forms text here, iOS, and that the previous one is Android. Now I'll show you iOS. You can switch over to iOS and Android from here, even the device type, right? So it'll take a couple of minutes to load, and you don't have access to some of these, storyboards and all. But if you go here, probably you can, write something platform specific for iOS, right? You can see welcome to Xamarin Forms. I'm going to go to split view. I'll show you the both side. You can see I have the label here, right? So I'm going to remove this label for a while, right? So I have stack layout. I'm going to add a button, right? You can't drag and drop. You can see everything is here, right? You can't drag and drop, right? But you can just drag and drop, UI, the code. You can't drag and drop the UI, right? So it is not working, all right? So make sure to remember that you can't drag and drop to the UI, right? So you drag and drop whatever the controllers to the XAML code. I'm gonna remove this a little bit, and I have a button here. I'm gonna say text click me, right? So you can see the click me button. I'm gonna keep a margin 50, right? So you can see the margin kept 50. So 50 means every from left, right, everywhere, right? From everywhere, it's going to be 50. So margin 50. I'm gonna go here, and now I'm gonna add a label. You can create a label, text, my label, and I'm gonna close it. Right, you can see the label. I'm gonna keep it to margin about 20. From left side, I'm gonna keep 100. Right, you can see. Let's say 150 from the left side. Okay, now it is in center. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a name, right? The button, for the button, I'm going to use button name. Let's say this is BTN. For the label, I'm going to say X call name LBL1, right? LBL1 is the label name. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and go to the button, right? Click button. So in the button, right, I select the button here from the code, and what I'm going to do, I'm gonna check we have behaviors, right? Okay, let me check. I'm not sure whether it is showing here. Behaviors, edit. Okay, anyway, it's not showing here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add a click event. Clicked, right? And then I can create a new event handler. I'm going to create button click, right? So this event handler now was created automatically in my code behind, right? The code behind is here inside main page.xaml.cs, right? You can see button click is created. Now what I can do, I can access this label from here, right? I'm going to use lbl1.text and I'm going to set a text called hello world, right? Okay. All right, now we're done, right? So if I go to Android, you can see the Android view and iOS view, right? For first of all, I'll show you it's Android. I'm going to select the Android version here. I'm going to run it. You can see one code for both, right? For the UI as well as for the logic. Let's run it on Android and see how it looks like. Okay, keep asking questions, right? I have seen there are about 2 questions only. So how many guys are, joining the session now? I think there are 50. Okay, it's 32 now, right? Okay, right. So if you have questions, just go to the inquest.io and then, use Xamarin as the code and ask any questions, right? So we have 2 questions. I'll discuss about them later, right? Okay, it is now building. Let's see what is happening. Android app. All right, wow, it is running now. Awesome, you can see that it is just now loaded, right? So you have the button here. I have a couple of alignment issues, right? Forget about that. So when I click this one, you can see hello world appears, right? This is Android. Now we'll see how it looks like in Android and iOS, right? So I'm gonna select iOS variant, iOS here, and I'm gonna run it. Let's see how it is going to looks like. Okay, so this is the power of using Forms apps, right? Because it is using shared UI as well as shared code behind, right? Using C# and XAML. You don't need to worry about doing it again and again. Only the disadvantage you can drag and drop controls, right? Now you can see click me button here, my label here, right? So slightly different. You can see it is a uh, you know uh, uh, what do you call iOS button, right? This is a iOS label. I'm gonna click hello world, tada, right? So now we'll quickly add another couple of items. Let's add a switcher. I'm gonna add a switch here, right? So let's keep it a margin 150, right in the middle, and give it a name, probably X name, my WITCH switch, right? So what I'm going to do now, so I'm gonna toggle this switch and do something, right? So what I'm going to do, let's keep that values. Alignment, let's say. Okay, let's say, okay, Android should load up here. You can see it is showing you kind of a example and show you how it will look like, right? So this is not exactly the same you will see in the UI, right, when you are running. And what I'm going to do here, I'm gonna have an event called toggle, right? So I'm gonna have a toggle, new toggle event. I'm gonna go back to my main page.xaml. You can see that switch toggle is appeared, right? If let's say we'll change the background color, right, of the switch. If my switch, let me save this one first. if my switch dot background color, right, is equal to let's say color dot blue, right? So let's keep it blue when you are beginning, right? What I'm going to do is equal, right? And now I'm going to change the background color to red, right? And else what I'm going to do, my switch dot background color, again color to blue, right? Blue, right? Okay. Let me go to my switch and add a background color here, background color to blue, right? Okay, now I have added that, right? You can see it is in blue. Now let's run this in iOS first. Okay, it should be now iOS toggle button, right? So basically we see it as a switch. You can see iOS switch. I'm gonna click this one. You can see it got red color, right? If you change this, is blue, right? Nice, right? So you can see that is very quickly you can create that. And let's run this on iOS and Android, right? So let's run it on Android. Okay, come on. All right, nice, right? So you can see there's a different, right, in the toggle button. So it is a little bit bigger, right? Those are some of the things that you may need to address, right, with some kind of coding tweaks. When I switch on, you can see it is red. You can see, right? Very quickly you can create it, right? So likewise, you can create whatever the UI as well as the logic using Xamarin Forms at once, and you can target both, right? So one of the biggest disadvantage when you are using Xamarin Forms, you can't actually drag and drop, as I said, like this, right? So you can only drag and drop all these things to your code like this, right? But you can't, move them here and there. There's no, UI design at the moment for the Xamarin Forms. And another thing you have to remember, if you need to change something different in iOS and Android, you may have to write a small code for each iOS and Android. You can see in iOS, it is a little bit smaller, right? The background. In Android, it is a little bit bigger, right? So likewise, you have a couple of things to do, right? Those things you will learn by the time. We don't have much time to show everything. So yeah, so that's pretty much for the demo for the forms. So let's go back to our presentation. So all right, so that's Xamarin Forms. Let's go through a quick review, right? So we had learned Xamarin Forms, right? And we have learned how you can use Xamarin .iOS and Xamarin.Android, right? So remember Xamarin.iOS, Xamarin.Windows, Xamarin.Android, and we have Xamarin.Forms, right? Those are the four variants we have. And it is a native mobile application development using .NET, right? So you use .NET framework and wraps 100% of iOS and Android APIs powered by Mono Runtime, right? So you use Mono Runtime. I showed that how you can see the Mono package there, right? And as I said, Xamarin Forms you share UI code plus the code behind, right? So basically the logic, it is running on top of Xamarin, right? So let's let me go and show you how you can download Xamarin and install. I'm going to use Visual Studio. I'm going to go to Visual Studio. You can go to Visual Studio, search for Visual Studio, go to Visual Studio site, right? So then what you can do, you can download Visual Studio from here, either Community Edition, right? So I think probably you don't have Professional and Enterprise because they have license. Go ahead with the Community Edition. You can develop any application with Community Edition. It's free. entirely free, right? And then we have macOS one, right? So if you want to download macOS edition, you can go and download, right? So I don't need to download it now, right? So let me go back. Okay. So either macOS edition or the Windows edition, you download it as a community edition. And when you are installing, right? So when you are installing, you have to select Xamarin install, right? Xamarin installer. Mm, Visual Studio. Let me check if there's any screenshot I can show you. Okay, yep, here we go, right? So there's a screenshot. Okay, so when you are installing Visual Studio, what you have to do, you have to install mobile development with .NET, right? So this one you must enable in order to develop Android and iOS applications, right? So in the optional part, you have to install Android SDK setup. So it will install all these emulators and everything, right? So you unfortunately in Windows you don't have iOS, emulators, all these things, but you can still develop iOS applications here. So when you are creating, you can do it, right? So remember that you can develop an Android, both iOS in Windows, but in order to run and build it, you have to have a MacBook. Okay. So that is you must remember you can't do it in Windows, unfortunately, right? Because of the restriction from Apple. All right. So that's how you can download and install. So I think we have came up to the end of the session, right? So before we wrap up and go ahead, right? So I'll show you a couple of other demos for you to get an idea how quick and easy it is to you know go ahead with Xamarin Forms. Let me close this one. I'm gonna remove save and quit. I don't need to. Yeah, save and quit. All right. Until it is mm, closing, let me go to this one called Xamarin samples, right? So just Google search for Xamarin cross-platform samples. You'll be able to download a lot of cross-platform apps, right? So where you can learn a lot, right? These are available for free, and there's nice demo here, eShop. Just try to use it with Azure backend, right? So it has a backend and everything. Show it here. It's available in GitHub, right? You can see it is really nice backend and a mobile app for iOS and Android. It is entirely a shopping cart, right? You can see customizable app, right? Screens and everything here. It is very simple and yet another good example that you can try out. It has a backend as well, right? So you can download and try out. And I have downloaded this to do app. It does not have any backend. I'll show you. It is running on local machines. I'm gonna go here to do SLN. Is it showing? Okay, loading. All right. Okay, all right. So this is my to-do app. I have, you can see. So it is entirely, Xamarin app, right? So it does not have even different version. But if you have target, you can see iOS, Android, as well as UWP app, right? UWP is not running on Windows, so it is only supporting. It is only supporting on Windows. You can't run it in macOS, right? So it is not loading here. I'm gonna go here to views. I'm gonna go and select this one. Preview. This is to do item page. All right, you can see how we have created it in iOS. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is iOS, right? I'm gonna run it on iOS and show it to you first of all, and then I'll show it in Android as well. Okay. Now it is building, and I'm gonna run it on iOS simulator. Okay, here we go. It is loading now, right? All right. So you can see I have one item here, right? Test one. If you go here, you can see the small plus icon. You had a, let's say, wash the car, right? Please wash the car in the morning, right? To do item. Save, right? You have this one. You can read the book, read the Xamarin book, right? You can see. So if you go to this one, you can see everything is available, right? So you can even delete. So let me run this again in Android. So this has, it does not have any shared backend, right? So those are isolated running because we don't have any backend running. It is just, what do you call, in memory database, right? Something like my, SQLite, right? Okay, let me run it. It's building. All right, it is loading yet. Developing, deploying. Okay, all right. So, okay, let's run it. All right, it is now loading. Ready. All right, tada! You can see to-do app. I'm gonna create a new to-do item. Can put that test item, notes, whatever, right? And you can even select done, right? If you're done, you can see it is showing a cross mark, right? So let's say read the book. No need not. I'm gonna say you can see the done one has a cross mark. Can go and check how it is looks like. So you can see now in iOS 1 as well as Android 1, there's little difference, right? You can see. So we have one UI, but the variant is little different, depending on the operating system, right? So that is why I'm saying this is entirely native, right? So whatever you develop here, it is entirely native. Okay, with that, we are coming to the conclusion, right? So I'm going to share you a couple of, places where you can learn free, right? For Android and iOS development using Xamarin. So this is what I learned from, right? So this is a book. I had a couple of books when I was learning Xamarin, right? So these books are printed versions those days, right? About 3 to 5 years back. Now it is available in ebook version, right? So it was a colorful book, right? You can download it as nice colored diagrams and everything, right? So just scan this QR code or you can go to this URL, take a screenshot of this one, right? I'll keep for a while. It has everything from A to Z in order to learn Xamarin Forms, right? What we did last day, right? Xamarin Forms is where you can, create any applications with shared logic and shared UI, right? So just download this book. It is really important and it has sample codes, very clean sample codes, right? And everything is perfectly given, from A to Z. So just go and download this app, download this PDF, and then I'll keep it again after a while. And then you can go to Xamarin documentation. So, Microsoft documentation is available, right? Go to Microsoft Docs. This is the QR code, or maybe you can use the URL. And then we have Xamarin Learning, right? So where Microsoft Learn is giving you free Xamarin courses in order to learn, right? So just use this QR code or use this URL. So you can go and learn, Azure, Xamarin, everything at one place, right? So this is the Xamarin path. If you search and if you go to this URL or maybe scan this QR code, you will go to the Xamarin learning paths, right? So this is where you can learn a lot because they are giving you everything you need to learn, right? So those are freely available. Okay, with that I'll be going to our you know question side. All right. Okay, now we have a couple of questions, right? So let me check. There are only 3 questions. How many is there? There are 30 people, right? So ask questions as soon as possible if you have. Okay, so how can I create taxi app like Pick Me using Google Maps, right? Is it the same? Yes, it is pretty much the same way. I'll show you how you can use Google Maps, right? Sample, right? So this acquaintance and smart hotel, right, is using Google Maps and Google Maps SDKs, right? So just go to this one. It is giving you a kind of a good idea. This is a sample app, right? This comes with source code and backend, right? So just go and download this. This one has everything, right? If you go to the app, right, you can see Xamarin Forms apps available here. You have Android app, UWP, UI test. You can see Xamarin Forms app. You have UIs and everything, right? If you go to views, you have the views, right? And then view models. Likewise, this is a little bit complex. However, you can learn it very quickly, right? And another one is Smart Hotel. It has also a backend, right? So comes with Google Maps SDK. Just try this example as well, right? So just go to the Google and search for Xamarin cross platform samples. You will go to this location, right? So there are another UI you can get all the code samples. If you go to this one, browse code samples for Xamarin, right? So I'll put this one in our chat, right? So then you can use it later. Okay, so this one has everything. You can see Xamarin form working with triggers, shapes. So all these are sample codes, right? And maps, if you search for maps, probably maps, right? You can see working with maps. If you go here, you can see using forms.map NuGet package, right? You can download the zip file or maybe browse the code, right? If you go to browse the code, you can see everything you need to learn, right? So that is that much simple. Everything is given, you can learn very quickly. And I'll share this link as well. So then you guys can go ahead and learn. Okay, I'm gonna close this one. All right, this one eShop is really good example. Just try out because it has everything if you want to create an e-commerce website, right? Because it comes with the backend. Because if you go to the eShop containers, this one containerized application, right? So it has a web application as well, right? Something like this. It is really nice web application plus a mobile app, right? So just give it a try. It's a really nice example. Okay, now other than that, you can learn Xamarin from this link. Everything is in one place. You can go and watch these videos, right? So those are available in videos, YouTube videos, right? So very quick and small introductions, especially Xamarin Forms, UI, and MVVM, right? So model view model. We didn't had much time to discuss all these things because we don't have much time to go through all the stuffs. And I'm gonna share it in the chat window, right? Can use them. And as I said earlier, you can go to Microsoft Learn, right? So you can use the QR code I have given, or maybe you can go here and search for Xamarin, right? Go here and Xamarin, then you will see all the Xamarin, classes available, right? So that way you can, learn a lot from Xamarin, classes, right? And also the Xamarin documentation. Go and search for Xamarin documentation. It's giving you all the information in order to get started. Okay, so I answered the first question. I think this one is done. All right. Which UI kit is good and easier, user friendly? Okay. So there are a couple of Xamarin Forms UI kits. Right, if I go here, I'll show you. So some of them are not available for free, but some of them are available for free, right? Okay, kit. All right. Okay, so this is called Essential UI Kit for Xamarin Forms in Fusion, right? I think it is a free one you can download, right? So it has kind of a good set of UI kits, right? In order to develop applications, you can see they have given all the uh, all these UI components they have, right? So let me share this in your chat window. So that is where you can. Okay, we have one question. How much performance do we need to run emulators? So basically, in my my setup, you can see I have 8 GB memory and about 120 GB hard disk drive and about dual core CPU, right? You can see still it is consuming a lot of memory, right? So at least you need to have 8 GB RAM, right, in order to run emulators, because it is consuming a lot of CPU and memory power. At least if you have 4 cores, that is enough, right? So in my case, I have only 2 cores, right? So this is Scene Fusion UI framework. And then let me go and show you other things. These are available. I think some of them are not freely available. So Scene Fusion. And there's this one, right? GalKit. GalKit's also a good framework. And there's another one called what do you call Telerik. Telerik Xamarin Forms, right? Telerik is not available for free, but you can try out for free, right? So I'm gonna share the Telerik. All right. So you can see Telerik has a lot of UI controls, data grid slits. And this is not free. It is really expensive one, right? But you can try out. It has a free trial. I'll share that in the chat window. Okay, and yeah, so okay, we'll go to the other questions. UI kit, it is done. And what is an API? Okay, I'll explain a little bit about API in a little bit, right? So let me go to the other questions. So how can we add website to get details like daily updates to that? Okay, so in order to do that, you have to go with API, right? So you need to call to a web API in order to get daily updates and everything. And where your central location is a cloud host, right? Where you are keeping the backend and databases in a cloud host. So you can develop a API using ASP.NET Core, or maybe something like Java or whatever, right? So it is really easy to working with the API. I'll show you a couple of samples in here, right? Let me show you. Web APIs. So web APIs, I'll discuss about that in a little bit. Okay, consume RESTful web API service, right? So this one is giving you entire good idea. It has all the codes and everything, right? It's very straightforward, right? Just try it out. I'm going to share it in the chat window. Okay, how to make API? You can see this one is giving you particularly a good idea about creating an API using ASP.NET Core, right? You can do it in your own machine, and then consuming it yeah, in a mobile application probably. I don't know whether, yeah, get data through Xamarin Forms, right? So I'll share this one. This one. Okay. All right, I think that will help you. Okay, yeah, so those are the good examples you can try out. And yep, so daily updates, if you want to try out, you can try out, like a weather app, right? Creating a weather app using weather map API. Just for search, there are a lot of free weather APIs available, right? I'm gonna answer it. And can we use Xamarin in a Linux environment? Not really, right? So it is unfortunately not available for VS Code, right? And VS Code is not available with Xamarin Forms, and you can't run or develop any applications in Linux, right? So unfortunately, it's not. Okay, do we need to learn Xamarin, sorry, XML in build mobile app? GUI builder is enough. Do we need to learn XML in building mobile apps? All right, so basically you don't need to worry about too much about XML parts because it is really easy. So what I'll do is for you to answer this question, I'll show you, I'll download this PDF, right? It has everything you need to learn in order to write the UIs. Okay, let me download the ebook from here. Don't download the sample, right? So just download the ebook free. Let me download it. It's a little bit bigger one because it has a lot of images and everything, right? So I I read entire book, right? This book, the hard code, hard copy one, right? That's how I even learn, right? So this is the really good book. I read the edition one, right? So now they have a new one, right? So if I show you in this book, we have XML, right? I'll show you. You can see XML versus code. If I go code XML in Harmony, right? If I go here, you will see pretty much everything you need to learn about XML, right? Let me go and show you something here. Even one of the good thing about this book is actually it is giving you this C# code as well as XML SAML output as well, right? Let me go and show you. Okay, let's check first all the controllers. Okay, page editions, custom renders, right? Deeper text calling anatomy of an app. Where the markup extension, styles, components, mastering grids, collection views, transfer animations. Even you can try out animations and everything, right? Custom. Okay. Anyway, I can't find it here. Let's search for button. All right. Here you can see XML support. It's giving you a brief idea about how you can use XML, right? You don't need to, write a lot because it is given you all the codes available, right? You can copy and paste the codes. Okay, yeah. So just go to the book and search, right? So everything is there. And other than that, if you search here XAML, right? It is not XML, right? It is XAML, right? Remember, XAML. Let's say you want to know how to add a switch button in Xamarin, right? You can search for that. You can see some switch. So Xamarin Form switch. You can see how to create a switch, right? Using C# code as well as using a SAML code, right? So today I showed you only SAML code. If you want, you can even create a switch or button using C# code, right? So this is how you can change the appearance and everything, right? So you can see everything is given here, so you can learn everything. I think probably I'll share this one as well, right? If you want to learn about SAML concepts. So yeah, so you can switch between Windows and Mac, right? So if you are using Windows, I'm gonna share it here. All right, let's check what else we have, what questions we have. I think so. Okay, this one I answered. I'm going to discuss this in a little bit. What about database connection in case I want to create an app like Google? Yeah, so in that case, I showed you the previous example, right? So what you have to do, you have to create an API, right? So I think I'll probably answer this question with this one, right? So what you have to do in this previous example, let me show you. In this one, you can see there's a diagram, right? Okay. So this is how it works. We have something called web API. You have to create a web API in order to create a database connection. What you can do, you create a web API. You have all the tutorial here. So you create the web API using .NET Core or ASP.NET and you host it in the cloud, right? And then it should have a database, right? And using that database, you get the database and everything, right? So you may have some of the database here. And then you can use HTTP request in order to populate data. So for the question, API is kind of a application programming interface where you can, communicate back and forth between your mobile app as well as the server, right? So let me give you a kind of a high level view of an API. All right, I think this is probably a good idea, right? Let's check web API. Okay, I'm not sure we have good diagram. Dash API. All right, so this is a kind of small diagram for you to understand. So you have SQL database or whatever the database here. You have API app, right? ASP.NET app, and then you may have to use that as a backend, for your application, right? So the one that I shared earlier is separately, it is a REST API you can use, right? So if you search for how to develop REST API using .NET Core, it is really straightforward. You can develop REST APIs very quickly, right? Something like this. And what you do, you are using that REST API in order to develop and integrate with your mobile app, right? So I'll share this one also. So once you develop this REST API, you can host it in the cloud or whatever the platform, right? Okay, I think, yeah. So I hope you got the idea about API, right? If you don't, right, just let me know once again, right, in the chat window. Let me know how many of you have sent me requests on LinkedIn, right? So just go to my LinkedIn profile and send me requests, right? So, probably you can learn a lot, right? I think about 10 connections are there. Okay, just send me a message if you don't understand anything, right? So I'm always following up with you, right? Anytime I'm open for a conversation, right? So you don't need to worry about, so when I have time, I'll give you a shout out, right? So you can add me from this one, right? Good. So just use LinkedIn as a good platform because you can, connect with a lot of people. Just shout out to me, right? The person who asked this question, what is an API, right? Right, if you don't understand it. Okay, I'm gonna close this one. I think you also got the idea how we can create a Uber-like app, right? So we can do it very quickly using an API and then connecting it between your API and the mobile app, right? What is the reason you didn't do cross-platform app? Reason I didn't get you. What you did not do cross-platform app? Not quite sure what the question here. So what I showed you is actually entire everything today I showed you is cross-platform, right? So cross-platform means you create one source code just like today, and then you are developing for iOS, Android, and Windows, right? So that's how we did today during the session. For using Xamarin Forms, you can do it. Using Xamarin iOS, Xamarin Android, you can do it, right? Not quite sure your question. So just ping me, right? Whatever the question is not clear here. Okay. And do we really need iOS device while developing hybrid app? So remember, this is not hybrid application, right? So when it's come to hybrid, so these are not hybrid, right? So hybrid application comes with a web application, like, if you search for Apache Cordova, right? So Apache Cordova is a hybrid application, right? So if you search, so this is hybrid, and then Ionic, right? And Ionic is a hybrid framework, right? So those are really not in use nowadays. Xamarin is not a hybrid framework; it is native framework, right? So hybrid frameworks are limited, right? So even React Native, right? React Native, it is it is also native one, right? That's why it is native, right? So basically, this is not hybrid, so it is entirely native. Do we really need iOS while developing app? I'm going to answer this question. So is it enough to get a test in one platform? Tested MIN. I don't know what is tested MIN. Anyway, so basically you will need an iOS device, right? Basically macOS plus, in order to run, if say for an example, if you want to test it out in a mobile, you have to use a iPhone as well. But if you just want to run it on emulator like this, right? So in the simulator, you can just use the entire thing, right? And try it out, right? In the simulator also, it is working. But there's another thing called Azure test apps for Xamarin. Hmm. Okay, let me check what is the name of that. I forgot the name. So solution. Okay, there's okay, automated UI test, right? App Center. You go to App Center. It is not free. That's one of the things that you have to remember. Okay, in the App Center, you can test your applications, right? It could be iOS, Android, anything, right? So they are giving you kind of a testing platform, right? In a device, you can test a step of every feature on a device, every commit, right? So basically, multiple devices can be used here. So they have a lot of devices available. It is comes with a price, right? So that is one way of doing it. Otherwise, what you have to do, you have to have your own iOS device, or maybe you can have MacBook, right, in order to build it, right? Or else you can get a something called Xamarin Mac host, right? So I'll show you. Uh, so this is called Xamarin Mac host, right? So you have to enable remote login to the Mac, right? So you can create a remote connection with your friend's MacBook, right? So I'll share this one. So using the IP address, and then what you can do, you can have your friend's MacBook as a device, right? For you to build and test out iOS applications. Other than that, you can get VPS hosting, right? I'll show you macOS Mac OS online, right? Emulators. Sure, what is the name of that virtual operating system? So those are not available free, right? Online VM. Think this one. Yep. So thing, yeah. So this is one of the things that you can try out, right? You can get your own machine, right? macOS machine online if you want to try out, right? So this is not free, obviously it comes with a cost. So only solution is actually you can ask your friend, if you have a friend who has a MacBook, and ask him to give you a pair, right? So then you can try out. All right, I think yeah, that's pretty much all the questions we have. Let me go and check for polls. All right, I think 23 people have voted, right? Thank you for voting, right? So we have a lot of people using Android, only a couple of people using iOS, right? So although this is, and also there's a 4% people using Windows. So Windows is obsolete now, right? So it is rare to see people who are using Windows nowadays. And probably, this comes to play like in Sri Lanka, we have a lot of people using Android. But when we think about like a country like United States, we have a lot of people using iOS, right? And your favorite programming language, of course, it is there are only 10 words available, C Sharp, right? So just learn C Sharp because it comes with a lot of things, right? And one of the things that happening in the future is called MAUI C Sharp, right? I'll show you this one. So the multi-platform app UI will help you to develop both Android, iOS, cross-platform applications plus a web application, right? So just go to this one, right, and get an idea about what will happen in the future. So you don't need to worry about running and writing codes again and again. So just go and check for MAUI, right? All right. Okay. So yep, I think we are coming to the end of the session. So as I said, go and check for all the free books, right? So I highly recommend this free ebook. This is why I'm recommending this. This is what I learn, right? This is how I actually learn Xamarin. And yeah, Q&A time we finish. So yeah, so let's get in touch with me. I'm gonna share my information back again, right? Whatever you didn't understand today, probably in the questions you might have other questions for the questions I have. Just directly ping me from LinkedIn, right? So I'll happy to help you. If you are not available in LinkedIn, just create an account, or maybe if you are in Twitter, you just can send me a message in Twitter. You have my handler here, and I'm happy to help you all the time, right? Okay, so with that, we are coming to the conclusion. Over to you, Nipuna.
Thank you very much, sir. And once again, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and for sharing your knowledge with us today. I'm sure that there we have some undergraduates who have just started to explore Xamarin, and this definitely is a good set of guiding instructions for them. So guys, if you have any questions, you can email to us or reach us using Facebook, and we will be in touch with you. This webinar is the third session of a continuously happening webinar series called Dev Express, organized by the Microsoft Club of University of California. You can check about our previous sessions in a YouTube channel. It's called MS Club University of California, and you can see the URL in the chat box. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Dileepa, for spending your valuable time for us. And
My pleasure.
okay, welcome, sir. And thank you everyone for participating to this event. Hope to see you in the next Dev Express session as well. And guys, stay safe.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Bye bye.